All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is the daily vlog number 173, and today, I have been doing next to nothing for the past day other than getting my ass handed to me repeatedly by the new Elden Ring DLC. Um, if anyone doesn't know, I am a huge fan of the Dark Souls series. I have tried Bloodborne many, many times. I just can't get into it because the build variety is just not there. What I mean by that is in a Dark Souls game, you can start generally it's like anywhere between like 6 and 13 different characters, and each one is going to play a little bit differently and evolves as the game goes. In Bloodborne, you basically have three different weapons that you can use in the beginning. You don't really start to find more weapons that allow you for build variety until hours into the game. And it's just not fun for me. And there's also significantly less weapons in Bloodborne. The magic system is almost non-existent. I mean, there is quote-unquote magic, but it's really, really limited compared to what you have in any other Soulsborne game. So, anyway, I'm a big fan of the Dark Souls series in general. My first Dark Souls game was Dark Souls 2, which everyone says is horrible, and I love it. It's still one of my favorites. I went back and played the original Dark Souls, the Prepare to Die edition, um, and I played and beat Dark Souls 3 on launch, beat all the DLC, loved it to death. Played and platinum trophied Elden Ring on launch. I loved it to death. The DLC has been so much fun. But the thing that got me most excited about the DLC is they introduced a couple new weapon types. And that's something that if you've never played a Dark Souls game, you won't quite understand. In Dark Souls, very similar to a tabletop RPG, there are weapon types. And each weapon type has a unique attack set of attacks, both light and heavy attacks. Some of them will do different things when you place them in your left hand versus your right hand. And so while things like fist weapons in general, there's a lot of different ones. Like there's just the regular cestus, there's the spiked cestus, and there are a couple different claws. For the most part, their attacks are nearly identical. The claws have a slightly different attack animation, but for the most part, they work the same way. And the real difference, at least in Elden Ring, is the special attacks that are attached to them called weapon arts, and the damage that they do. Some of them will inflict bleeding. Some of them will do bludgeoning damage versus slashing or piercing damage, stuff like that. And I think there's like between like 10 or 12 different weapon types in the original Elden Ring, including things that you wouldn't think were that different, like straight swords versus curved swords have very, very different swings and everything, and then like great swords versus ultra great swords or light great swords. So it's really, really fun, and it means that you can create a lot of different builds. And then when you start adding in all the different magic, whether you're talking about incantations versus spells versus like dragon arts and stuff like that, like there's a lot of different builds. But the one that got me most excited is they introduced a martial arts weapon type. And there's only two of them. There's one, the first one that you're able to get, I already have, and I've upgraded it to the max. I upgraded it to the max before I used it. Like, I got it, I immediately went back and just upgraded it, and I was missing one item to get it to the max, and so I just found a walkthrough and found one place where I could find this final upgrade item. Just immediately ran there, ran back, and upgraded it to the max. And so the two different martial arts, one focuses more on punches, the other one focuses on kicks, and the kicking one you can't get till much later in the DLC. So I get this martial arts thing, and I am the person that I have beaten every single Dark Souls game using fist weapons, which is not ideal. Fist weapons in general, the thing that makes them fun is they're fast, but you have extremely limited range. And when you're dealing with characters like in the original Dark Souls, there's a fight against a knight called Artorias, who uses this really cool greatsword that he wields in his left hand, and he wields it one-handed because he's such a badass knight. And he has this really acrobatic fighting style where all of his attacks are these huge, like, overhead swings that go into, like, flips and turns. And so he's constantly moving around. And when you're using a weapon like fist weapons in general, you have to get point blank to these enemies to attack them. And a lot of times, if you're off by what looks like, a quarter of an inch on screen, that's enough for you to just completely whiff and waste all of your attacks. So fist weapon builds have to be very fast, and generally if you're going to be fast, that means you have to wear very, very light or no armor, and that means every time you get hit, it hurts bad. And a lot of times the most powerful weapons are never going to be fist weapons. So playing as fist weapons is already difficult. But the first time I beat Elden Ring, I did it with a pair of spiked cestises. And it was super, super fun. But it was challenging, especially since there's a few bosses that their hitboxes are created in such a way that the super short range of the fists means even though I hit the character model, I'm not actually hitting their hitbox. So I had, specifically there's these things called Erdtree Guardians. And I had quite a few where I would hit them, but it wouldn't register as a hit because I was hitting their little skirt thing that they were wearing instead of the actual creature. And so yeah, it was very, very frustrating. So the thing with the cestus is it's all punching. So you just go boom, 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 boom. You do a couple combinations, and that's it. The thing with this martial arts thing is the first thing you do is instead of just going boom, boom, you do double palm, almost claw strikes. You go boom, boom. And then you come up and do a back spin kick, another kick. You do two palm strikes, and then you come in with a double snap kick, which is actually something that a lot of martial arts don't do, because and what's become very, very popular in mixed martial arts in general is doing what I refer to as a Thai snap kick, and that's because it comes from Muay Thai, which is a fighting style from Thailand. But the thing with a Muay Thai snap kick is a snap kick is literally where you take your leg and you snap it and you hit like this. With Muay Thai, you hit with your shin. And they actually, one of the exercises that they do in Muay Thai is they will kick palm trees with these roundhouse kicks, and it's specifically meant to basically kill off all the nerve endings on top of their shin, and to strengthen their shin specifically, so that they can throw these roundhouse kicks with such power, and they don't have to worry about hurting themselves when they do it. Now, the downside to a Muay Thai roundhouse kick is, while they can be blindingly fast, they are effectively a one-and-done kind of kick. Because of all the power that you put into it, sorry about that, all the power that you put into the kick, it takes a little bit of time to recover from it. Now, When you look at Taekwondo, their front snap kick is very different. Instead of hitting with the shin, they actually hit with the top of the foot, and it's meant to be a very, very fast kick. You hit with the top of the foot, the instep of the foot, and sometimes you hit with a little bit of the ankle. But it's designed to be an extremely fast kick. And in who's what's it? In sparring, in Taekwondo sparring, especially if you watch like Olympic Taekwondo, your roundhouse kick is one of your bread and butter kicks. It's one of the kicks that you are using constantly, and really, really good Taekwondo practitioners at like the Olympic level will learn how to basically machine gun their roundhouse kicks by just switching legs. So you have like pow, 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 and it's really, really powerful just because of how fast it goes. And one of the things you learn in Taekwondo is how to effectively do what I call a double roundhouse, where what it is you come around, and the way that I wish I could get up and show you guys, the way the roundhouse kick works is you turn your hips so that your hips are basically vertical. And so your leg, let's say like this is like my thigh, and this is the leg, and then right down here would be where my feet are. So it goes perfectly here. And so what you do is you hit, the first time you're generally hitting around the midsection, and then you twist your leg a little bit to pop it up, and you do a second roundhouse kick, and it's meant to hit around the temple region. So the whole kick combination turns into this, you pivot and go pop, pop, and it goes shoom, pop, pop, shoom, pop, pop, shoom, pop, pop, and it's a really, really effective kick, because if someone's blocking, they see a kick coming from their midsection, they're going to bring their arms down, at least their lead arm down, to block their midsection. They have to. And because of how fast the transition is, because you literally just kind of flip the angle of your knee to instantly get the second kick, it can get the block to, they'll go down to block this kick here, and then their head is open. They go, pow, they hit with it. It's a really, it can be a very effective kick. Now, like all kicks, it's going to be slower than your punches, and there's generally going to be a little bit more of a telegraph to it. So there's benefits and things. So the martial arts weapon in at least the first one, the first two attacks are boom, boom. And then the second one is this weird kind of double snap kick that actually comes from above. And then it continues to do this really awesome punch and kick combination. And it's massively fun. I'm still learning how to use the weapon, because up until then, this particular run, I've been doing a whip run where I have these two serrated metal whips that are called Blood Rose. And their default version, they just do bleed and slashing damage. It's really fun. However, I infuse them with a little bit of frost, and so they are ice bleeding whips, and they're super, super fun, but they're also massively slow. So the additional range that you get from them being whips is very, very useful, because it goes like, you have to go to get these attacks off. And so I had been using that all the way up until I got these martial arts weapons. And so martial arts weapons, you have to be significantly closer, but they're also blazing fast compared to the whips that always had this massive wind up and cool down. So I'm still learning how to use them. But it got me thinking, and I plan on, I had a series on here that I did where I just talked about kind of the 4 basic classes in D&D, and RPGs in general. Your fighter, wizard, cleric, and thief classes, and how that relates to kind of like game design and the struggles that you have. Well, anyone that's watched this channel knows I am a monk main. I love playing monks in literally every tabletop RPG I have ever played. I have done my best to at least try to create a monk. I don't get to play very often, but yeah, I really, really like monks. And so one of the things we talk about in those class design ideas is, what is the class fantasy of the monk? And this new martial arts type weapon is really making me think about, okay, well, what exactly is the class fantasy of the monk, and is that why I'm enjoying this martial arts weapon just so much? I'm really excited to find the second martial arts weapon, because again, the second one is mostly kicks. And again, the first martial art that I studied in depth, like when I was really, really young, about like 4 or 5 years old, my dad was a black belt in Shotokan karate. So when I was really, really young, he started teaching me karate. And it didn't last very long. And then when I got to about 5th grade, I started taking Taekwondo. And so Taekwondo is still the martial art that I kind of compare all other martial arts to, because it was my first. It was the one that taught me the basics of punching and kicking, and just how to look at a martial art. And traditional Taekwondo doesn't really use hand techniques. It's almost exclusively kicking techniques. And the thought process behind it is your legs are significantly more powerful than your arms, and they always will be. Your legs have to hold your entire body up. So, like, your quads are always going to be bigger than your biceps and triceps, no matter how long you skip leg day, your legs are always going to be stronger. They're also longer than your arms are for most people. And just because of body mechanics and stuff like that, they can get better centrifugal force and stuff like that when you're dealing with kind of arcing kicks and things like that. So yeah, the version of Taekwondo that I learned was an Americanized competition sport version of Taekwondo. So we did learn actually a fair amount of hand techniques. Like, we learned jabs and punches. And then we also learned things like knife hand strikes and ridge hand strikes and spear strikes and palm strikes and all that stuff. So I have a little bit more. We also learned basic grappling and stuff like that too. So I have a little bit more well-rounded knowledge of Taekwondo than like your traditional Korean version of Taekwondo. But yeah, so I'm interested to see how they do the kick version and whether I like that one better. I have to find it because I have no idea where it is. And I normally try, like for Elden Ring, I normally try to do everything on my own. But I was so intent in finding this martial arts thing that I'm like, nope, I'm going to find where this is. So I looked up exactly where it was, and yeah, the way to get it is a little bit convoluted. And I think I have to go look up how to get the other one too, because the article that I read mentioned that, oh, there's another one, but it's like near the end of the game, or near the end of the DLC. And I think through just pure happenstance and accident, I think I'm near the end. Like, I think I only have, as far as like required bosses, I think I only have like maybe 2 or 3 more. And I haven't been trying to rush through it. I just happen to choose the path that continues the progression. So yeah, I'm gonna look up and see if I can find that, because I'd like to have both. I think both of them are super fun and interesting. But yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. I've got a D&D game that I actually get to play in later tonight in a few hours. So I'm going to, first of all, play a little bit more Elden Ring, and then I'm going to get ready for my D&D game. So it's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.